Good evening and thanks for joining us. Tonight, the other television ratings war, how 3 goes into 1. Secrecy in naming the politicians who cheated on their travel claims, and on course at Australia's richest golf tournament, the long-suffering caddies behind our greatest golfers.
Golf is addictive. Whether you're a chap who gave it his best shot,
playing off a handicap of 16 and enjoying it, will you please welcome the former Prime Minister, Mr. Bob Hawke.
or a chap whose worst shot is our best shot.
So near in the hole, that is stone dead.
But by now you've probably noticed that golfers need clubs, and clubs need karting, and that means a caddy who walks.
The ace of clubs, later in the programme. But first tonight, tough times in commercial television. As Channels 7, 9 and 10 did battle tonight for the early evening news and current affairs slot, only one of those 3 national networks is making money. 10 is still in the receiver's clutches, 7 is only just out. And in rural Australia, the picture is no brighter. There's a much less publicised ratings war about to start in country New South Wales and Victoria, which could be even bloodier than the battle in the cities. As Sally-Neighbour reports, it means an end to local TV monopolies and more choice for the viewers. It's called aggregation, but aggravation is what it's causing the television stations.
It's very challenging times ahead for prime television in Victoria as the new kids on the block, as we call ourselves.
Yeah, I'm confident and optimistic about it. I can't sit here and tell you it is going to work, but if it is, we'll make it work. If we can't make it work, nobody can.
Welcome to the hype of TV wars, country style. But don't believe the combatants are as confident as they make out. The aggregation of rural television in Eastern Australia is not even complete, and already commentators are using terms like financial bloodbath.
Well, it depends on which perspective you look at aggregation from. If you take the perspective of the viewers, aggregation has been a resounding success. Market research commissioned by the Australian Broadcasting Tribunal in 1990 shows that aggregation has been an over-the-top hit with viewers. They've gone from having 1 commercial service to 3. On the other hand, if you take the perspective of the commercial operators, aggregation has been a bit of a disaster.
The central Victorian town of Ballarat may seem like an unlikely setting for corporate calamity, but it's one of the latest fronts in the aggregation war that's been waged all the way down the eastern seaboard. Since television was introduced, the people of Ballarat, like most country viewers, have made do with 1 local commercial station and the ABC. From now on, they'll have access to 3 competing commercial channels. Previously in Victoria, 3 regional TV licence holders had the market carved up into tidy monopolies. Under aggregation, all 3 are obliged to broadcast all over the state. The opponents of aggregation still argue the regional audience is not big enough to support 3 networks.
Well, we took the government to the federal court and spent a lot of money trying to suggest that that was the case, and I think we were probably the greatest opponents of aggregation right to the end, and probably we fought it a bit long, I think, in retrospect, but we did that for a very good reason. And I make no bones about the fact that I do not believe that the best solution for giving choice to people in regional Australia was aggregation. However, it is here, I am accepting it, and we'll play the game.
Is there any chance that we could see one of the channels eventually just not being able to survive?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. That could happen.
Aggregation is a costly exercise. Between them, the 3 regional Victorian operators, Vic TV, Prime and the Southern Cross Network, have had to spend $50 million installing the equipment needed to beam their signals across the state.
One of the differences we have that say, our metropolitan counterparts don't have is the enormous transmission costs in terms of power. With UHA, we've been forced to go to UHF. Aside from the capital outlay, it's a running cost. We will have 7 main transmitters operating, of which 2 of those will be on B. We'll have 70 translators
at the end of the day, and that's an enormous amount of power that they use up. Consequently, we won't be doing 24-hour transmission initially anyhow because of the power bills alone.
3, 2, 1, we're on.
Good afternoon. In Big TV News tonight, Australia's major banks say they're reviewing their interest rates after...
Victoria is the fourth regional TV market to be transformed by aggregation. Southern New South Wales was the first in 1989, followed by Queensland last year, and Victoria and Northern New South Wales simultaneously this year. Tasmania follows suit in 1993. The other regional audiences are too small and too spread out for aggregation to work. The financial results from aggregation so far are not encouraging. In its first year in southern New South Wales, the three operators there suffered a profit reversal of over $16 million.
It's just a question of the economics of television. Essentially what happened was, once aggregation commenced, there was an overnight increase in the supply of advertising time, a tripling of the amount of time available, and there just wasn't the demand in those markets to generate extra revenue.
The federal government has provided substantial assistance to regional operators to ease the cost of aggregation, in the form of licence fee rebates totalling $19 million a year. But some operators remain disgruntled at what they see as government intrusion into their previously lucrative domain.
I think the problem with deregulation is that the government seem to have it on one side but not the other, and I'll sort of give you an example of that they put very heavy restrictions on us or requests for 45% Australian content, and yet they say the market is deregulated. I don't think that they can have it both ways. For heaven's sake, don't keep changing the rules. And that's what they keep doing. They just keep changing the rules. We haven't even got aggregation in Victoria, and they announce pay television. Then they announce a sixth channel. I mean, how far can it go?
So far in Victoria, aggregation has got off to a shaky start. One operator, Prime, didn't even make the starting date due to delays in getting equipment, while the other two have had their telecasts disrupted by bad weather. But despite the hitches, all three are keeping up an optimistic front.
Certainly the reports that were first established for aggregation clearly designated that there was enough revenue for all three networks to survive, and we would certainly hope that that will happen in Victoria as well.
One hopes they're right. Sally-neighbour reporting there.